That large, fleshy nose of yours.
There it
looks like a
is.
mistake.
Love that line. Oh, the girls are fighting
will have
again.
an
Classic.
explanation.
Oh, look. A little hand. Welcome to Experts React. I'm Devora Wilde and I play Laezel in Baldur's Gate 3. Let's see some of Laezel's most iconic moments.
I am the Undying Queen's most unshakable warrior.
I loved filming that intro because it was just so iconic and shows her strength.
There is someone inside. Kill them!
Vlaakith does not lie to her faithful.
So as you can see, she starts off the story obviously very set on this path and set on these beliefs that she has grown up with. And then depending on sort of which way you go with her, you might realize that these beliefs perhaps are not quite accurate, let's say, or perhaps they don't lead to the best consequences. I love that moment where you can deface the portrait of Vlaakith. I personally did that on my playthrough.
If Voss speaks true, if ascension is a lie, if tadpole purification is a fairy tale, then I have not sinned against Vlaakith.
Oh,
She has
Vlaakith.
sinned against me.
Yes, everyone loves that line. Vlaakith has sinned against me. That's the moment of realization.
What good? This heart of stone, for it to be shattered.
I love this. This is probably one of my favorite pieces of dialogue that we just watched because it's one of the times when she shows really true brokenness and that kind of vulnerability that has been shielded starts to come through. Like I said earlier, she starts off the game kind of like, I believe this, we've got to get the tadpoles out, bang, 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 this is it, this is what we've got to do. And as a certain storyline unfolds and she starts questioning Vlaakith, she's actually very scared and very fragile and very vulnerable, and all this kind of false bravado, I suppose, that's been holding her up, and she's been like, we're the Githyanki, we're this, it starts crumbling. And I think that piece of dialogue is so well written. It's so incredibly rich writing. I didn't really have to fish for emotion. The writing, it just encapsulates it all.
Cockroaches are survivors. Yet I do not congratulate them, as if I craved another whiff of sour breath. Best to keep quiet.
It was
lest
incredibly
any drivel
cathartic
leak
playing
from my
Lae'zel because she just says what she thinks, and you can't really always do that in life. She does insult so well, and one of my favorite lines, which is an insult, is let me just deliver it correctly. That large fleshy nose of yours looks like a mistake.
That large, fleshy nose of yours
There it
looks like a
is.
mistake.
Love that line. Somebody comments on the fact that her nose is economical, and she's like, ugh, and yours? What about you? Like, she just fires back. I just love it. It's just such attitude. She just has some great one-liners, and she doesn't do it to purposefully be funny or something like that. I just think that she's deadpan, and it just really works. And a lot of the stuff comes from her just not knowing about this world, right? She's has no idea. I think there's a time when she doesn't even know what a cat is. And she gets quite frustrated when people don't follow her instructions. Rightly so.
You carry a Githyanki
Oh, the girls are
I will
fighting
have an
again.
explanation.
Classic.
Or your head. That artifact is an heirloom of my people. Likely she spilled Githyanki blood in order to steal it. This cannot stand. Heirloom?
It's just like two children. It's like, she's got my artifact. No, give it, give it. It's just that kind of vibe.
Keeping us from becoming slaves to our parasites. Be glad.
All right, Shadowheart. I love that Karlach's just watching like, ladies, come on.
Lae'zel thinks I have something important to her people. She's deluded.
Well, she does, though.
Lies.
She does have
She
it.
carries an heirloom of my people. I must know why. A jewel come first light.
You mean
Oh,
I get to prove you
Lord.
wrong and thrash you? I love it. Get some rest, Lae'zel. You'll need it.
It's just so good. Look at her little angry face. You can't not love her, surely. Come on. So Shadowheart and Lae'zel obviously have this love-hate relationship. I think it's because they're so similar. They're so similar to each other. I mean, Shadowheart, she's come from a whole indoctrination thing. Lae'zel is very similar, and they just don't realize it. So obviously, two very similar people are gonna butt heads. But I think some of the lines that they have with each other when they're walking along is just it's just classic. There's one I think where they're walking along, and it's like,
It's dark around here. Would be a terrible shame to lose you forever.
Yes. Do keep your wits, Shadowheart. Should a dagger suddenly slice your neck, we may never know who's to blame.
all of that when you're going along the world. The funny thing, of course, is that I'm best friends with Jennifer English, so it's just hilarious to us that they have that beef.
I beg your pardon. Was I too rough?
I do not think Lae'zel's a bully. How can you even ask that? She's not a bully. Who does she bully? If anything, Lae'zel gets bullied. The Shadowheart Lae'zel beef, I mean, that's a whole different topic of its own. As the story progresses, I think they become sort of endeared to her. You know, it's kind of like, oh, Lae'zel's being grumpy again, you know, let Lae'zel do her thing. And I think they realise, as we all should realise, that they need her in the team.
If there are Githyanki west of here, that must be our objective. Purification cannot wait.
What I love about her is that she's probably the only one that's like, guys, keep your head in the game. Let's keep going on this mission. Whereas everyone else is like, oh, should we go and like do this? And she's like, no.
A crash is near. That much is certain. No one will keep me from my purification.
I think we could all do with being a little bit more like Lae'zel, because I think she is the most genuine character. You meet Shadowheart, you know immediately she's hiding something. She says it herself. She's being very secretive about the artifact, and she doesn't let up. Astari, you don't know what's going on. There's like backstory that you don't know. Lae'zel, it kind of what you see is what you get. What the player knows is kind of what Lae'zel knows. She's not really hiding anything. She'll be very forthright with you, and so I think that she is, in that sense, the most loyal and genuine of the companions. And I think that people not liking her is kind of like people not wanting to sort of hear the truth. She comes across as quite blunt because she's just telling the truth.
Has the tadpole ravaged your senses?
For a female character to be so, I suppose, blunt and unlikable, I don't personally see her as unlikable. I see her just as honest. And I think people aren't used to seeing these kinds of female characters in video games, certainly, and on screen. I always said from the very beginning, just give her a chance. And I think a lot of people luckily did do that and have been greatly rewarded, especially with that scene that I think we're going to find out a little bit later, where they're watching the sunrise.
Don't say a word. Just listen. Let me speak. A parasite grips my mind. My own people hunt me. But I am gnawed by an even greater torment. You. Thoughts are hallowed ground. Yet you've crawled your way in. Uninvited. Shadowheart do. There is only one way for you to prove it. Dance with me. Bleed with me. Bruise me so that you might possess me.
I think people are also quite taken aback by, she's obviously very sure of herself, sure of her like sexuality, and very, very confident, I suppose. And I think people are like, oh, Lae'zel came on to me within like a minute of being at camp. And people are like quite taken aback by that. But she knows what she wants, she knows what she likes, and she might be the youngest character, but actually she's very sure of herself and very confident, at least in the beginning. But the fact that she goes through this transformation, I think, makes her interesting to have and to go on this journey with. And she's intense and she's passionate, as you can see. People find it odd that in my playthrough I'm romancing Lae'zel, but I don't think that's weird. Is that weird that I don't think that's weird? Neo is also romancing Astarion, to be fair, so I have an excuse there.
But you, I don't want to hurt you. I want to protect you. For you to protect me. I am yours. Say the words.
This is one of those moments where I was just talking about, she realizes, you know, this is kind of the connection's getting deeper, and she gets on this deeper level with the player. And I think this is such a beautiful moment. I mean, I love this. And the music and everything, it just really sets the scene. It's stunning. I love it. This Jacques Vaughan line. Often when I'm asked to sign things for people, that's what they want to have on their print, like Jacques Vaughan do. the source of my joy and the source of my bruises. Oh, my favorite scene.
Watch. I used to hate that sight. The glowing sky, the long shadows, the fading stars. I lived for the red of blood and the black of death. Now, I see the colors between.
Look at her little froggy smile. I love those little moments where she like smiles.
Look at the sun, beauty. The dawn was my torment.
Oh, I love it.
Rustling leaves.
It's so well written. It's just, the words are really beautiful.
Wait to escape this place. Now, I revel in it. I revel in you. You showed me the betweens and beyonds. Between war and peace. Will you stay with me?
This is the hardest question for her to ask.
For good.
This is probably the most vulnerable she's ever been and going to be in this whole relationship. And this is what I mean. If you stick with her, oh, look, a little hand.
Chaque von Findu.
Oh.
Source of my joy.
This scene was probably one of my favorite scenes to record ever, because she tells it like it is. And here I think all the barriers are coming down and she is really willing to be vulnerable, which is quite hard for her. You see Lae'zel the warrior becoming Lae'zel, somebody that sees something more than war, to live for something more than that. This is what I mean. If you stick with her, you're rewarded with her love and her loyalty. I think Lae'zel and I have quite a lot in common, though I would describe myself as someone that has a bit more of a filter than Lae'zel has. Sometimes I think I do say things as they are, and I'm Eastern European, so perhaps that's where it comes from. And I also don't have time for like small talk or like side quests. Do you know what I mean? Like in life, I'm very much like set on my path and like set on my mission. You can't distract me with other things. So I think we do have a lot in common. Something that was more tricky for me to record was probably the epilogue scenes, because Lae'zel went through a massive change, right? She's gone through this whole journey. Regardless of which ending you've gone through, I think you come up in the epilogue against a Lae'zel that's very changed. I did struggle a bit with that because I was so used to Lae'zel being sarcastic, deadpan, aggressive, you know, kind of say one thing wrong to me and I will literally slit your throat, that kind of vibe. And in the epilogue, I think she is much more mellow and she has truly changed, for better or worse, but she's changed. And I remember kind of being in those sessions and being like, God, I don't know if this is Lae'zel. Am I still being Lae'zel? And the director would be like, yes, it's fine, you're still being Lae'zel, but it's just a very different Lae'zel now. And so I guess that's kind of the biggest change that I felt.
I found new allies now.
See, this is what I mean. This is a lighter, a softer Lae'zel. She seems like more happy in life. She's had some therapy.
We've heard word of a Githyanki outpost hidden deep in Chult, the last of Vlaakith's Sword Coast's.
I mean, she's still up for battle. Yeah, she's still the old Lae'zel, but she's kind of like, things aren't so heavy anymore. Things are kind of like a bit more, let's go and just do battles for fun, because, that's her thing.
It was my own foolish pride that ever kept me from admitting it.
And this is it. This Lae'zel admits her faults. This Lae'zel is very self-aware. This kind of teenager-y hubris that we had at the beginning is gone, and she's matured. She's grown up. Oh, a couple of moments, I'd say. Certainly the places where she starts to find out that what she's been taught and all this kind of stuff about Vlaakith, I'd probably encompass it in that one line, which is,
I have not sinned against Vlaakith. She has sinned against me.
I mean, I think that says it all, really. That's it in a nutshell. That's the turning point for her. And it's like, okay, from now on, if you've decided as a player to go down that path, just get on this ride, hop on the red dragon and let's go, because, things are about to get wild for Lae'zel. And then the other moment is the sunrise scene where she really shows that vulnerability. And again, it's in that moment where she says, when all this is over, will you stay with me for good? I mean, for her to kind of turn that back on the player, and essentially the first moment really we see her sort of breaking down those barriers and asking for sort of, it's not help, but it essentially is kind of in her own way to just admit that she actually might need somebody else. I'm just so proud of her. The most challenging part about portraying Lae'zel was probably the fact that she is completely alien. She is a Githyanki, so she had to have very distinct movements, should I say, not actions. And I think it was that kind of notion. She has come from a different place. She's a fish out of water, and making that look natural and making her relatable despite her alienness, I suppose. It's funny because a lot of people that I meet, a lot of fans, well, they say they're fans, but the first thing they say to me was like, I killed Lae'zel the first chance I got. And I'm like, what are you doing here? What are you saying? I think people who give her a chance will be rewarded. So if you decide to kill her, then you will regret your action. You will discover very quickly that I'm pretty much the same as Lae'zel. No, I'm fine with it. I mean, it's the game at the end of the day. I haven't really considered whether she's got more chances to be killed off than any of the other characters. I'm not sure about that. Perhaps, because I know there's a moment you can leave her in the cage. Yeah, she can get killed by Shadowheart. She can get kidnapped later on as well. So maybe you're right. Yeah, maybe she does have a lot of chances to be killed off. But the beauty of this game, I suppose, is you can go back and make different choices. So go back and right the wrongs.
Thank you. Sincerely.
This has been Devora Wilde. Thank you so much for watching Experts React. You can find me on Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, bumbling through my own playthrough of Baldur's Gate 3. Thank you so much for enjoying Lae'zel as much as I've enjoyed playing her, and I will see you soon.